So Stephen Tindall, what's World Class New Zealand all about?
Well, it's about 80 people that's in a network, both based here and globally all around the world. They are people that have been selected for the fact that they are really world class. They're people who have done unbelievable things, both here and in other countries. And we are growing the network every year, and we are looking for those people to be major contributors to New Zealand. They've already shown by virtue of being tapped on the shoulder that they're prepared to come to days like today, the summit, and to contribute, but we want to get them much more heavily involved in helping forge New Zealand's nationhood and future.
So you've also got Kia, obviously, which is a large network of around 27,000, I think? So
25,000, yeah.
And is that the funnel for World Class New Zealanders? That's all the Kiwis out there doing things, and we're trying to create the higher end with the World Class New Zealand?
That's right, yes. Basically, Kia is everybody, and out of that we're actually choosing the people that contribute the most at the high level. That's right.
And so a gathering like today with, say, 80 people, what's the focus of today? What are you trying to get out of it?
Well, the focus of today was to look at what big opportunities we have. You know, governments tend to work in 3-year cycles, and it's very, very difficult for them because they're always looking to try and get re-elected again. We're part of New Zealand society, whether we live here or whether we live overseas. The world-class New Zealanders that live overseas usually are in very, very big and important jobs. And for example, we had Chris Liddell here today. He is the CFO of Microsoft. We had Craig Neville Manning, who's about number 11 in Google. These guys, he's based in New York, those guys really can open all sorts of doors for us as a country and enable us to do things way better here.
So I saw you at the Job Summit as well, and that's obviously been a key link between government and private sector. Is this part of the same movement as well, linking these initiatives together?
It wasn't part of the same movement, but the Job Summit is developing in terms of a continuation. What happened was the chairs, of which I was one of them, we did about 5 weeks of preparation, and then we had the summit, and we're now continuing to help the government with advice as they put things into policy. That means that we've got a seat at the table continuously with the government, and a lot of these fantastic ideas that have come out of today's summit can now be fed in through the Job Summit Forum.
So what's the idea for Kiwi businesses and entrepreneurs to access the world-class New Zealanders? Is it a direct link, or is it more of a indirect through Kia?
What's going to happen from here, we've been building it over the last few years. What's going to happen from here is that we're going to form some sectors, and we are going to allocate, in fact we're going to ask the World Class New Zealanders to volunteer into those sectors because they're the ones that they've got expertise in, and then we're going to put those World Class New Zealanders in touch with those sectors here in New Zealand. So if it might be, say, the biotech sector, we've got several people in that area, we want them to engage and to help New Zealand grow, particularly exports, to take New Zealand products and services overseas so the country can become cash flow positive.
The country can become cash flow positive. Does that imply that we're not at the moment?
Absolutely, I think we all know that. The country has a lot of debt, and we continue to need to borrow more money to fund what we do here. We've got to be able to stand on our own 2 feet.
So you're covering all industries too, is that the idea? So you're going sector by sector to make sure we're fully represented and we actually start to develop outside of agriculture and tourism some of our mainstays?
Absolutely, yeah. And there's been a big focus today on export education. We have a world-class education system here. We're leveraging it at the moment to the tune of about 2.3 billion a year in overseas funds. We think we could grow that by triple if we did it properly and forge wonderful relationships for overseas folks to come in and live here and contribute to New Zealand.
So there's some amazing people in this network. What are the barriers that are letting us only have 80 so far? Why have we not got a couple of hundred coming through, and are we on the cusp of it?
I think it's because we're making sure that we're growing in a sustainable way. We're still learning as we go. Clearly it's going to get to a point where we can blow it open to a large number of people. But at this stage we think we've just been doing it in a careful way.
So what do you think about the opportunities for New Zealand right now?
Well, I think the opportunities are huge. I mean, when you think of the fact that there are a number of zeros after the point, so we're 0.000 something of the world economy. We've only got to get a fraction of global business to make a massive difference in New Zealand. So it's all to do with making sure we get our design right. So Better by Design's been part of that. New thinking about how we make our place in the world, and then basically delivering on that. And there are a lot of things that we don't deliver on well enough at the moment, but by leveraging people who are having to deliver in world-class companies in overseas countries, we can find out and learn ourselves and then make that delivery properly.
Yeah, so what are some of the shortfalls you think in capabilities of entrepreneurs? What are they not quite doing right that they could do better?
Well, it starts normally at governance, so the boards of companies are not quite good enough. That's the first thing. Secondly, we're not very good at selling ourselves properly. Our sales and marketing is not up to real international standards. We don't have the confidence to go out there and do the elevator pitch with Americans, for example. So there is a number of things that we need to do better, and therefore we can attract capital and venture capital and private equity from overseas firms and move in these bigger markets. So, I'm involved in about 8 companies that I visited that I've invested in the States last week. All of them are growing very nicely, but as we pick up these new trends in the way that world-class New Zealanders do things, we can actually grow these companies much faster.
Growing this confidence and this, I guess, this media savviness and ability to talk to a wide range of people around the world, investors, new partners, what sort of things do you think Kiwi entrepreneurs should be doing to get themselves to that level?
Well, I think the most important thing is to travel. I found through my whole business career, 30 odd years, is I learnt so much by travelling, attending trade shows, selling their product, talking to customers, finding out what customers really need, and then basically delivering on those. But secondly, leveraging networks like the World Class New Zealand network. I mean, we just heard an anecdote from New York where I was at a cocktail party on Friday night where one of our guys was able to introduce another fellow New Zealander who was up there on a marketing ploy to the worldwide global head of marketing for Coca-Cola, the PepsiCo Gatorade worldwide marketing person. These sorts of opportunities are absolutely priceless. I mean, you just cannot buy that. And so we can plug Kiwis in at a very high level in some of these organisations when they would never have ever got there before. And that's the power of the Kia network.
And so on that basis, are Kiwis really that willing to help another Kiwi? Is that something you just find is quite evident?
It's absolutely right. I mean, why we started Kia 7 years ago was that I had a number of Kiwis that I would meet up with in different parts of the world that would say, what can we do to help? We don't know. And the other thing is that we're sort of ostracised a little bit because we've left New Zealand. So we thought, well, let's create a network where they feel empowered, that they feel engaged, that they feel valued, and then ask them to help. And I haven't heard of any Kiwi that's turned another Kiwi down.
So we've got a pretty powerful asset sitting there for the country.
Absolutely. We just need to leverage it.
Fantastic, Stephen. Thanks a lot for your time.
Pleasure.
Cheers.
Cheers.